So today we are going to be interviewing Miss Courtney, and she's gonna be showing us how she makes her delectable cookies. Come along.
Hello.
Oh, hi Courtney. How are you?
I'm good. Come in.
Nice. So nice of you to invite me over today.
Come eat some sweets.
So what are we making today?
We are making some cookies.
What kind of cookies?
We're gonna try a new recipe, which is chocolate and cherry cookies.
Oh.
And then maybe some white chocolate and some normal chocolate chip cookies.
Nice.
See how things go.
Sounds like a plan. All right. So let's go.
Let's go. Still learning how to use this oven, so it may.
Alright, so hi everybody. So today I have a very special guest with me. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself.
Hi everyone. My name is Courtney. I'm from New Zealand and I've lived in Japan and Kashiwazaki for, this is my 8th year.
Wow. Okay, so what brought you from New Zealand to Japan?
When I was a high school student, I studied Japanese at high school and I got to come on a school trip twice to Japan. After the first time I came, I thought, okay, I want to go again. After the second time I came, I thought, okay, I want to live here.
Well, you were enamored with Japan, so you decided to stay. Alright, so walk me through the steps of moving from New Zealand to come here to Japan. Like, how does one move? You said that you had a school trip from your home country to come to Japan. So Japanese is a subject that's taught there, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's good. Well, Japanese is not taught in the high school systems in Jamaica, so that's the difference. But so everybody has a knowledge of Japan. Are there like a lot of people interested in moving here, you think?
I think so. The Japanese community in New Zealand is quite big.
Oh.
We have Japan Day every year in my hometown to celebrate Japanese culture. It's like a Japanese festival. You have the food stalls and the drum performances and the dance performances. So Japanese culture is quite well known in New Zealand.
Oh, so that's where your love and your interest in Japan came from. Alright, so tell me about your steps in coming from New Zealand to Japan on the JET program, and are there other like programs for persons to come here except for JET?
In high school we have different city exchanges depending on which city you come from. So you can do an exchange with a sister city in Japan. Outside of high school, there is the JET program, which again, once you finish university, once you have a degree, you can come. I learnt about it through my Japanese lecturers because I studied Japanese at university. Okay. And they told me that if I wanted to continue or wanted to go to Japan, then maybe the JET program was somewhere I should be looking into.
Alright, so let's talk about your journey here. For persons in New Zealand who are interested in coming on the JET program, walk them through the steps. Like, what are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to get ready? And the entire process of just packing up, saying goodbye, and then coming here. So,
I'm not sure if much has changed in 8 years since I started the process, but what my process was in around December. Once I got my results from university, I submitted my application and my statement of purpose.
So that's December?
December.
Oh, because there's a deadline for us in Jamaica for, was it November, I think? November. Is it October? No, sorry. I was thinking October comes after November. My bad. Alright, so it's December for New Zealand.
Yes,
that's the deadline.
I graduated on December 12th, I think. And so after that I quickly once I had the certificate of graduation, I was able to. Is
it like a lot of paperwork and stuff like that?
It's a normal JET application form and then an essay. Your statement of purpose of why you think you would make a good teacher in Japan and why you think you should be chosen over other people.
So I know that for my Caribbean folks in like Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, the Trinidad and Tobago group is not as large as the Jamaican group. Is the New Zealand group of JETs like a big group?
I think within New Zealand usually it's around 100 people a year, which may be more than the Caribbean, but it's a lot less than our American counterparts and our British counterparts.
Yes, America and Britain, there's a lot.
Yeah, they get majority.
Alright, no problem. Alright, so you sent in your application. What next?
In around January, I got an email stating that I had passed the first step of the application process and was called for an interview. So from there, when was it? Maybe February, mid-February, I went for an interview at the Japanese embassy in Christchurch.
So from my understanding is that it's different in every country. Like the application and the deadline is different, and the whole process itself of when you come and so it depends on where you're coming from. Alright, so you went in for your interview and then what?
So my interview was...
How was the interview, by the way?
Horrible.
Really?
I had 5 people. So 5 people asking me questions about myself and about my experience and everything. And so that was intimidating. And then they tested my Japanese. So one of the interviewers starts asking me questions in Japanese and my brain froze.
The nerves took over.
I was just like, I don't know what to answer to this question. And so when I left, the security guard asked me, he's like, oh, how did your interview go? And I told him, oh, the Japanese part, I was horrible, I don't think I've got it. And he's like, don't worry, everyone said that as they're leaving. And so when I got accepted, I came back to hand in the paperwork after being told I was shortlisted, and the security guard was like, see, I told you so.
Alright, so you're shortlisted now. I know in Jamaica we need what is called a police record. Do you need that as well? So would you advise persons who are interested in coming on the program from New Zealand to get the police record before or after they've been accepted? Because it's compulsory anyways.
It is compulsory, but a lot of police checks will have a certain amount of time you can use it. So I know in Japan, when it comes to paperwork, you have to use paperwork within 3 months. So in New Zealand, I'm not too sure, but because it's going through the Japanese embassy, they still might have that 3-month limit.
Okay. Alright, so
was just be careful about if you're going to get your police check.
Okay.
Check to see if there's a time limit within which you can use your police check.
Okay. Can you give some advice as to the statement of purpose? Because usually that's the part that gets to people. Like, what am I supposed to write? Like, what are they looking for? I remember what I wrote for my statement of purpose, because I was like, I am going to be an ambassador for Jamaica. I am going to bring Jamaica to Japan. And I came to Japan and found out Jamaica was already here.
Yeah.
What did you write? Give fellow New Zealanders some tips, like what you think they might be looking for.
What did I write? I incorporated the statement that they use, the grassroots communication, all that. I incorporated that into my statement of purpose. So they knew that I had read their information, so I used their sentence back at them. After that, what did I write? I talked about my skills, like what I did have, and I also talked about what I could get out of the program, but I didn't make it majority about what I could get out of the program.
So you have to give more than what it is that you're willing to take away.
A lot of people who fail on their statement of purpose is because they say, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, which they're getting more than they're actually willing to give.
Okay. So give more than what you're willing to take away. Alright, noted. Alright, so you've done the interview, you've been successful, the police record is ready. What's the next step?
Waiting to find out where I was going.
Oh.
So those that come to city placements, so junior high and elementary, they find out the prefecture and the city that they're going to quite well in advance. I found out which city I was coming to 2 weeks before I moved.
Oh.
So prefecture, I came in as a prefectural ALT, so I taught high school for 5 years. And so coming in as prefectural, you find out prefecture, so Niigata prefecture. And then it wasn't until 2 weeks before I was leaving that I found out Kashiwazaki. And then my successor, my predecessor, got in contact with me.
Okay, so there is prefecture. So usually the prefectural ALTs are direct hires by the prefecture, which is the zone that you live in, as opposed to the other ALTs who are from the board, who are hired by the Board of Education in the city.
Yes.
So you were high school.
Yes.
How did you like being a high school teacher for 5 years?
I loved it.
Oh. So tell us about your experience.
I had 4 schools. I taught at 5 high schools, 4 main ones. One I taught for a year but then got changed because of ALT rearrange. But my main base school was what's called a super science high school. So they have a science course, which is their main. And my major was chemistry. So coming into a super science high school, it meant I got to also teach science and English. So I wasn't only teaching English, I was teaching physics, chemistry, and biology.
Is that a regular thing, like on JET, where you're required to teach outside of like the regular course?
There are limited number of people within Japan who have super science high schools. In Niigata prefecture, I think there's 6.
Oh, okay.
But it's a specialist course.
Are you required though to like take on teaching, like, because I know that you taught science with like as a subject in itself, separate and apart from your English courses or your English classes. Was that like a requirement for your job, or is it something that you volunteered to do?
No, it was a requirement. So the person who goes into that high school, just like the person who took over from me, you have to have a science degree to be able to go into that school.
Oh.
When the prefecture and the school applies for an ALT, they apply for one that has a science background so that they can go into that role.
Okay, so you're now in Japan. Was it different, like, from the 2 previous times that you visited, now that you're actually living here? Was this your first like official job outside of university?
No, I worked at a casino. I did bar work and restaurant work in a casino.
So now this experience is totally different.
Totally different.
Alright, so now you're here and you're working. What was that like? You're no longer a tourist. You are now a working Japanese citizen. What is that like?
When I came in high school, I went to the major cities. And so when I applied for JET, I applied to go to Aichi Prefecture, to Nagoya, because that's where my friends are, my Japanese friends from high school. But then they sent me to Kashiwazaki, which is the countryside. It's very different. But I was very lucky in that coming into Kashiwazaki, there was another New Zealand person in Kashiwazaki. And so when I arrived, he helped me settle in. And I made friends quickly, thanks to him and thanks to having a little bit of Japanese. My Japanese, I had studied at university, but it was nowhere near as good as I thought it was or needed it to be when you're actually having to communicate.
Oh, so now you're immersed into the society. So there are terms and phrases that you didn't study in university. Alright, that's interesting. Alright, so now that you're here, after what was your first year like? Did you have like because I know on JET they tell you that you have the euphoric high, and then afterwards you're gonna be like, what did I do?
The first year was spent at the bar a lot. I was young. I was 22 when I came here, and the ALTs that were here.
Your age away.
I know, it's been. Oh God, I'm old now. The ALTs that were here were very into drinking, and so that's where I made a lot of my Japanese friends as well, is at the bar, and spent a lot of time at the beach, traveling a lot. Like,
where have you been?
I've been to about 21 prefectures.
How many prefectures are in Japan?
47.
Oh, and you've been to 20. How many have I been to? 4?
I like to travel a lot, and
have you been outside of Japan since you've been here?
Yes, I've done. My first year I did Korea. My second year I did India. Third year was Thailand. Fourth year was India again. Then I've done New Zealand 6 times, I think.
Wow. Would you say if you were still living in New Zealand, would you have had the opportunity to travel as much as you've had since moving to Japan?
No. So, New Zealand's far from everything. It's like that little thing at the bottom of it that's missed out on most maps.
Guys, what you're hearing in the background is Courtney's oven. So we were baking today. Okay, so let's go into that.
I'm gonna quickly check my cookies.
So one moment, guys. Oh my God.